Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Writers. Everyone's here. We got a full house, great attendance, no illness, no sick days, no snow days. Everybody's here. Phil Stacy, Nick Giannino, Matt Williams, Nick Kukuru. So we're all here today to talk some sports. And we have Matt Karakutis from Beverly High boys basketball joining us here. In fact, you know something? We're going to bring in Matt Karakutis at this very moment here to talk about the Division I tournament and about his team. We have some other D2 and D3 basketball to discuss as well. But there he is, Matt Karakutis, joining us. The timing could not be better. They're playing at North High School, a team that Nick Giannino referred to last week in our podcast out of Worcester. Matt Karakutis, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Great.
What's going on, Matt?
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to let Nick take over here in a moment here, Nick Giannino here, but just give us a quick update on the team, where you're at. Any late news prior to the Tuesday night game at North High School?
No, just we got a really tough task ahead of us tomorrow, but we're practicing hard. The kids are prepared, and we're ready to give our best effort.
Yeah, Matt, I think a lot of people would like to hear about the performance last week, against Bishop Fien, 90-63 win for the Panthers at home. But the story was Dylan Crowley, who set the boys program record for points in a game with 44, and obviously Ryder chipping in a quiet 30 and 16. Obviously, a great performance from both of them, but tell us what you saw from your perspective on the sidelines with Dylan going off there.
Yeah, I wish I knew ahead of time that their all-time record was 45 for girls, or I would have left them in another possession so he could have grabbed. But I honestly had no idea. I knew he was having a really good game. I didn't know how many points he had because, mid-game I'm not checking the scorebook. But I knew he was rolling. I'm glad
you could have called the timeout, Matt, and texted me. I would have given you that.
Right?
Yeah.
I blamed it on my bench. The guys told me they knew he had 40. Nobody told me. So I blame it on my assistants. But he played unbelievable. Ryder played awesome. And it's funny because, like I said, it was a quiet 30 and 17 for Ryder. But Ryder's been doing that so often now that we've become accustomed to it. So it's not a big shock to us when Ryder has a game like that. But as a team, I thought we were really well prepared. We had a great week of practice. The kids watched a ton of film, really bought in, and executed the game plan really, really well.
I think, Coach, one of the first games I saw you guys earlier. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry. Well, what I was going to say, Coach, I think the first game I saw of you guys this year, Dylan went off for 33 points in the game. I want to say it was Beverly, but against Marblehead, but I could be wrong on that. I think it was somebody else, but then of course later on, Ryder's dominating the scoring books as well this year. But Dylan is capable of doing that. But what an incredible performance for him!
Yeah, it really was. Dylan's had a couple 30-point games already here. I think one of them actually was against Lawrence, who's one of the best teams in the state. So it proves he can do it against anybody, and we're certainly going to need it tomorrow. That's for sure.
Now, Nick Giannino, you got it. I'm sorry.
Well, as much credit as we give to Ryder and Dylan on a nightly basis, they've obviously been the backbone of your team, both sides of the ball. But you guys have gotten a lot of contributions from other guards stepping up. Max Hempsey's been playing a big role for you guys. Talk about the depth and how big those guys have been, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, those are always the guys, the typical role type players. They always get overshadowed by the guys who score the points, But like Noe Diaz is an incredible third option for us on offense. He's had multiple 20-point games. Max Hemsey's been excellent on both sides of the ball for him. Max and Noe always take the toughest assignments on the other team defensively. We've had Joey Parsons step in off the bench, Jacob Klass, another freshman guard who stepped in and has played for minutes for us. We've had Jack Ryan come in and play as a big for us. So it's definitely not a two-man show. We've had multiple guys lead us in scoring, and a lot of the role players are excelling in their roles, and that's what's working well for us at the moment.
Now, go ahead, Bill.
How do you see the matchups against North High School? What are the matchups to watch there?
all over the place for them. Really, they don't put anybody on the floor who can't play. They're very athletic. They have two really big athletic big men around 6'5". They have a bunch of guards. They play 8 or 9 guys. They can all play. They're all fast. They're all athletic. So I mean, basically, Ryder on either one of the bigs and Dylan on any of their guards is going to be a great matchup to watch. And then we're going to have to see how Noe and Max and those guys we just talked about can defend some of those other guards, because some of them are excellent shooters. They're lightning quick. And I mean, North has been pretty much everybody's preseason favorite from the get-go to win this whole tournament. So we're going to give it our best shot and see if we can knock them off in their gym.
Yeah, a little background on North High for those watching at home. 20-2 record this season. Only 2 losses came to out-of-state opponents, I believe. They've beaten everyone on their schedule from Massachusetts. You guys just had the one common opponent with them, Lawrence. I think they beat them in a tight game, maybe three-point win for North High over Lawrence. And obviously you guys had a great second matchup against Lawrence. So that could come into play, but talk about, the matchup in general and what you're going to need to do to be able to pull off an upset, especially at, their place.
Yeah, rebounding is going to be a huge issue. We need to limit them to one shot, rebound the ball, and then we need to get out in transition against them. Even though they're a fast-paced team as well and they're very athletic, not many teams in the state push the ball like we do in transition. That's when we're at our best. But to be able to get out in transition, we have to defend, limit them to one shot, rebound, and then be able to go. And then when we don't have it in transition, they're a good half-court defensive team off the first pass or no pass. So we really have to work our offense 4, 5, 6 passes, get them moving, and then we can attack them. So, I mean, we got our hands full for sure, but, we've been watching a lot of film on those guys, and they are beatable. They are beatable. This is high school basketball. All high school teams are beatable, and I think they're ripe for the picking, and I think we're going to be the team to do it.
Well, man, it's funny you say all high school teams are beatable. I wanted to ask you about some of the craziness in this Division I bracket so far. I think last year the power rankings were proven to be really correct, and this year we've seen some wild upsets. Number 1 goes down, number 8 Andover goes down. There've been a few others in some of the other divisions. I mean, when you get home and you can kind of relax from your own game as a fan of the game, are you able to kind of take that in and enjoy some of those upsets like the rest of us, or are you sort of stuck in tunnel vision and not even able to process that stuff, while you guys are scouting north and stuff like that?
No, yeah, I definitely keep my eye on everything else that's going on, because we played Catholic Memorial twice this year, and had they beat us pretty good the first time. Then we had a really good game with them at home, a high scoring affair. So as soon as I saw that Winchester beat them, I went home and watched that film to figure out what they did to beat them, to see what we could have done better, and Winchester just played awesome. They really did. They just played tough man-to-man defense the whole game. And CM, I don't know, I don't want to say they overlooked Winchester, but they just kind of looked out of sorts all game. They only scored 55 points, and a lot of times that's not going to get it done in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But like
I think too, it's just good for the game, right? I mean, I think, whatever the format, however the seedings are done, I mean, just like in the NCAA tournament, I mean, with all due respect to those top teams, it's not so much fun when the Final Four is 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? I mean, it just I think it creates a lot of interest and makes for good playoffs when unexpected things are happening.
Right. I mean, I know no matter what system is in place, people are probably going to be unhappy with it. It seems that way. Like a lot of people would look and say, we shouldn't have been an 11 seed and Andover shouldn't have been an 8 seed when we beat Andover head to head. But I mean, there's so much more factored into that type of stuff. Like if you look at the right side of the Division I bracket, it is loaded. Mm-hmm. You have Lynn English, and Newton North, 2 teams that people thought could win it all, are faced off in the second round in the 7-10 matchup. North and Beverly, 2 teams that probably had a good shot to win it all. They're matched up in the 6-11 bracket. And then you look on the other side and you got Waltham versus Winchester. And one of those teams is going to be in the Elite 8. Mm-hmm. And somebody like English, North, Beverly, or Newton North is going to be 2 of those 4 are going to be sitting at home after tomorrow. So you can look at it that way, and I can see why people would complain. but you got to beat everybody anyways. So whether it's tomorrow or in the finals, we have to get through Worcester North one way or the other.
I just look at D1 hoops, especially as one of the most unpredictable ones. And I think because so many of the sports in this format have been sort of predictable, a lot of ones and twos at the end, I just think, it just goes to show you how deep Division I basketball is on the boys' side. I mean, there's just so many good teams out there, and it's been fun to watch so far as an observer.
Yeah, it's Division I is an absolute gauntlet. I mean, you have Springfield Central as a 25 seed, who just beat Andover, who was playing maybe the best basketball in the state other than Worcester North at the time, and it's just crazy. It's an absolute gauntlet, so there is no easy game. Like Bishop Fien on the scoreboard may have looked easy. We played really, really well. Bishop Fien was a really good team, battle-tested team, playing a tough conference, and you see teams like that scattered through the 20s, the 20 seeds all over the place in Division I.
Yeah, a lot of landmines. Yep.
It is. It's frightening. You got to be ready every single game.
Matt, let me see.
Ask you.
Go ahead.
Let's go one more question or two more, I guess, quickly.
Yeah.
So we go ahead, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question for you about, I've been seeing Beverly High basketball for, I don't know, 45 years maybe or so, watching from afar and all. And, aside from maybe a season or two with Peter Wynn back in the late 70s, early 80s, I really feel like this is the greatest stretch these last 3 or 4 years that the program has ever had. And I'm wondering if you've heard that from some old timers, some old time watchers of the game, and if you can take a moment to appreciate that in the minute while you're still coaching, still trying to progress this season, that kind of thing. If you're able to really, sit back and soak that in a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. And I have heard that from a lot of alumni and people. Like, we have a good following of some old gentlemen that come to every game. And, they said that this is some of the best basketball they've seen, where they've never really seen Beverly basketball as a state title contender multiple years in a row. It's all the players. I'd like to say, oh, it's just great coaching, but it's we've had some really good players, and they buy into what my staff and I ask them to do. And so it's been a good mix of players and coaching. And we're battle tested every year because we try to make a really difficult schedule. So when that tournament rolls around, we're ready to go. And those big games are creating a lot of buzz and fun for the community because we pack the gym on our home games, which has been really nice.
I want to ask you too, and this is something I ask the hockey coaches that I cover a lot. Do your own players realize how good of a player you were?
Me? No, because now I'm old, I'm fat, bald. Every now and then I'll shoot the ball a little bit in practice just to let them know I still have it. But no, I'm old as dirt to these guys now.
But they don't know that you were a 2,000-point scorer. I mean, really, not that long ago, really, when you think about it.
No, I was a good player. I didn't score 2,000 points, though. I played with Thad. Thad scored the 2,000.
Okay.
But I make sure that these guys know one thing, and that's that I won back-to-back state titles as a player, because that's what we're all playing for. We're trying to win that title, and I told them there is no greater feeling than when your season comes to an end because there are no more games to play. It still stinks because the season's over, but that's the way you want to end it. There is no more game to play. You've gone as far as you could go, and I was lucky enough to do that twice, with Coach Broughton. We were the backcourt together. And it's something that, like, I try to explain to these guys how special it is, because I'll see guys now that I haven't seen in 10 years that were on that team together. And it's like, you just immediately have a connection because you remember what you did together. And it's so special, and it's really so difficult to do. I mean, every year, 330 plus MIAA teams, 14 or 5 now with the 5 divisions are happy at the end of the year. That's it. 99.8% of the teams are in tears because it's over, because they lost.
I think I read something that said there were 500 teams that started the basketball tournament.
Yeah, it very well may be.
Crazy.
Crazy. And then you think it comes down to 5 winners. That's it.
Right.
5 teams are happy every year. So that just shows you how hard it really is to do. And then us moving up to Division I certainly didn't help us, but again, none of the kids complain. They love it. They love playing the tough competition. I love coaching the tough competition. So it's been a good mix for us.
Matt, on that note, we'll stop and let you go because I know you got practice to go to and stuff, I'm sure. But best of luck Tuesday night in Worcester.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for
Thanks,
having
Thanks,
us.
Take
Matt.
care. All right.
We'll see you.
There he is, Beverly boys basketball coach Matt Karakutis with us. You're right, Phil. I'm glad you brought that up because it is an era, if you will. It's a special time for Beverly basketball. We touched on that the other week, I think, too. It really is.
And
And I
they've
should
been doing
clarify
this
with the 500 teams. I think I saw that it was between the boys and the girls.
and the girls.
There were
Yeah.
almost 500 teams that had qualified, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean well, you got 5 brackets and there's about 50 in each bracket, which
Yeah.
would be 5 by 5 is 250 and 500. So that's it's about right. And there'll be 10 left at the end. That's pretty crazy.
Little bit different in the hockey, Willie.
Yeah,
So-
they don't even have yeah, exactly, not as many teams made the playoffs. I think out of the 6 brackets, maybe only 1 or 2 even had a prelim game at all. I think they were all
Yeah.
32.
Yeah.
All right. I want to
But
get to
in
hockey.
the same way as the basketball, there have been some upsets, not a 132 like we saw, but a traditional power like BC High get knocked out in the first round. You saw Hingham lose in the second round the other day. So there have been some different upsets. Winthrop losing to Amesbury, I was really surprised by that. So it does
We'll get
happen.
to hockey in just a second here, but I got the 2 Knicks. I want you guys to weigh in. Nick Giannino, we've got Salem playing Tuesday night. We also have Marblehead playing in the 2 tournament, and Nick Kukuru. We've got Gloucester in the 3 tournament playing at Holbrook again on Tuesday. We record this on Monday afternoon here prior to these Tuesday games. So Nick Kukuru, why don't you give us a note on Gloucester basketball, and then Nick G on the 2 other teams I mentioned.
Yeah, sure. And Gloucester, pretty shocking upset, to be honest. I know it was only a 13 versus 20, but I'd be lying if I said I was expecting Gloucester to come out of that second round at New Mission. But, they did 43 to 37, a defensive struggle. And it was Nate Montanino, 26 points. Adam Borowick had 11, and he kind of, they needed to go to somebody else at the end to win it. And Borowick kind of came up really big for him at the end. Only 3 kids even reached the box score in the whole game. So it was kind of a weird game, but Gloucester's well coached. They play tough defense, and that got them through to the next round. I know they got a different animal coming in the next round with Cardinal Spellman, the number 4 seed. They're 17-4. I know that they play a who's who, in the Catholic Central League, that Bishop Fian team that Coach Karakutis just mentioned. They play St. Mary's. Archbishop Williams is the number 1 seed in that division. So they're going to have their hands full. Manchester Essex boys also played Monday night. So they're at Cathedral in the 9-8 game. And I know that that's a 9-8 game, but I think Manchester Essex has got to be seen as the favorite in this one. I know they're on the road, but they kind of got they were ranked a little bit lower than they probably should have because the Cal was really down this year. Usually a 17-3 team coming out of the Cal Baker, you usually see them right up near the top of the, those lower divisions, but they got the 9 seed because, the Kinney was down, and outside of Manchester and Georgetown, the Baker was down too. So they didn't get a ton of points out of the league like they wanted to, but now they get the chance to prove that they were ranked a little lower than they should have been at Cathedral. That's a team they beat last year as the 12 seed. Cathedral was the 5, so this is a rematch from last year. I think Manchester Essex is better than they were last year, and Cathedral's not quite as good as they were last year. So, but we'll see. Stranger upsets have certainly happened already in this tournament.
The Gloucester boys have 2 wins. I don't think there's anybody, in the tournaments that have 2 wins in basketball because they didn't have the bye to play in. A lot of teams are getting the byes,
Right.
And fun fact, Gloucester boys basketball's never won 3 postseason games in the same tournament. So they're playing for history tomorrow night.
There you go.
Tonight, I should say.
Yeah, as we record on Monday to air on Tuesday. Nick Giannino, Salem, Marblehead, both teams hitting the road Tuesday night.
Yeah, Salem's at number 2, Mansfield. Don't want to count them out, but they're certainly going to have their hands full with that team. I believe Mansfield is 21-2. They've beaten a ton of Division I opponents on their schedule throughout the regular season. They just whacked Newburyport in the first round, 71-25. But Salem's
25?
71-25 over Newburyport.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah.
And Newburyport beat the Prep, didn't they?
They did.
That's right.
Newburyport beat the Prep. Yeah.
So that's long way to go for St. John's to get back to Mansfield's level, I guess.
Well, that was a long time ago too, Willie. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Willie was at the game against Longmeadow in the first round for Salem. They won by 9 points, even without their star Brayson Green for most of the game. Right? Do we think that injury is going to be serious? Do we think he's going to be able to suit up against Mansfield on Tuesday night?
Well, I mean, if he had played the whole game, I think they would have destroyed Longmeadow, to be honest with you. And, Longmeadow got it to 3 a couple of times. It was very ugly offensively, but very good defensively. Was the best team defensive point total against for Salem in a state tournament win in 20 years, and the fewest points that a Tom Doyle led team had ever allowed in the state tournament. So, defense will win it for you when the shots aren't falling, but there was a moment about 2:56, 2:40 left in the game, and Brayson checked back in, and he wasn't the primary option. There was a miss and a rebound, and they kicked it out to him. He buried a dagger 3 to really put him up by 2 possessions and finish the game. So I wonder if they were sort of holding him out and letting him kind of heal up a little bit over there. I mean, Coach Doyle said that it was really up to Brayson and the trainer, and I think he may be a little bit coy about it. He didn't want to let Mansfield know if it was kind of a coach's decision or if he was just waiting for the right moment to push that button. But I would say certainly based on the fact that he was able to play those last 2 minutes and make that dagger 3, that he should be, at least available, especially with the whole weekend to rest and ice and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I certainly wouldn't rule him out. I don't think Salem was taking him for granted. I think his minutes were definitely very limited. But having said that, I think, you can take the fact that he was able to at least give them 3 minutes at the end of the game as good evidence that he should be able to help out at least a little bit down there in Mansfield.
It was great to see Chris Kajarzi, senior, come up with some big plays. I know he came up with some big rebounds, a couple buckets late to help seal that thing. He's a guy that does it all for them, and might not always show up in the box score, with Brayson kind of dominating the points category and, a couple others chipping in. But great to see Chris, come up big because he's been key for them all season.
You guys, Salem's had a couple of huge defensive games this year. So I think you guys mentioning that brings a point home to me. That might be their overall strength as a team, their defense. They've had some big efforts this year against some good teams defensively. So
yeah, despite giving up some size too,
absolutely. Yeah.
And then Marblehead, they're going to be taking on number 7, Pope Francis. Don't believe any common opponents there, but obviously Pope Francis, earned the top 10 seed there, the number 7 seed after a 17-3 regular season. And Marblehead's coming off a nice win over a really good Pembroke team. A lot of people thought Pembroke was one of the dark horses in Division 2, and Marblehead fell behind by 4 points here, 4 points there, and kept battling back, took the lead. We're able to close it out late. So, they'll have the right to go on the road and try and take down Pope Francis in that one on Tuesday night at 5 o'clock. I think that's going to be a great matchup. I really like Marblehead in this bracket. If they can get past that one, I think the sky's the limit for them. They got the size, they got the depth, they got some shooting, they got good guard play, they play good defense. They just check all the boxes for me. I really like them in Division 2.
All right, guys. We've taken up a lot of our time, or all of our time, with basketball for the most part, except Phil was able to sneak hockey in a little transition a moment ago. But guys, let's go to but let's go to hockey. And Phil and Matt, why don't you take us through this, as well as Nick Kukuru with some notes on that too. But Phil, take us through this for our final few minutes here.
Yeah, so we got 2 teams left with the boys playing. The top-ranked St. John's Prep in Division 1, and number 8 seed Essex Tech in Division 3. Let's start with Essex Tech since they played most recently. They're coming off back-to-back shutouts. First time they've ever won 2 games in program history in the postseason. Really nice 5-0 win Sunday night at home over Pembroke. They now go on the road to face a Scituate team, which is ranked number 1 in Division 3. Team that plays a really good schedule. The Sailors play teams like Duxbury. They've played Norwell. They played Norwood. They play Plymouth North, which is usually very good. They play Plymouth South. They play Silver Lake. Got some balanced scoring on their team, and some of the looking up I was doing. Johnny Donahue and James Sullivan, the captain, Tegan Pratt, kind of run the ship for them up front. Offensively, they're all averaging about 1.5 points a game. And you have Thomas McMellans, the goalie, who's had a pretty nice season as well. He's got a goals against average around 2.5. Essex Tech just has a ton of balanced scoring. Well, first of all, before I get to the scoring, I should mention the goaltender, Kyle Mahan, back-to-back shutouts. He's got 6 on the season. He's got a 135 goals against average, 928 save percentage. He's been excellent in the postseason in both of their wins. When they, again, of course, when they defeated Pembroke last night, on Sunday night, I should say, and in the 3-0 opening win over Northbridge. Defense is playing very well in front of him. Cam Doherty, Riley Sobozinski, Mason Sutcliffe, and of course Armani Booth, who might be the best body checker in North Shore hockey, always delivering lots of big hits. Offensively, they can play with anyone. If they skate and dump the puck like I saw on Sunday night, which they did a much better job at than I thought in their opener, they can dump it. They can go in and retrieve it, set up shop out front. They make things happen there. Logan Casey, Brady Leonard, Jaden Vargas, Chris Mahar. But the list goes on and on there. I mean, they get a lot of good offensive weapons. Brian Swayzak, senior playing on the third line, had 2 goals and an assist on Sunday night. He's played really, really well. So they're getting a lot of contributions. Yeah, they're going to be the underdogs on Wednesday night against Scituate because of the 8-1 matchup. But you have to think they have more than a fighter's chance here. The way that they're playing, stout defensively, they're getting timely scoring. They've scored 6 third-period goals in their 2 playoff games. So there's something going right there. They're playing well in crunch time, and they haven't trailed at all. So something to be said there. St. John's Prep, 2 completely different playoff games that they've had so far. 11-0 blowout of Lexington. It shot them 63-6, if you can believe that. It was insane. And then another game that I think a lot of people were figuring, it's going to be 6-1, 7-1, or whatever. It turns out to be a 2-1 game against Archbishop Williams, that battled them every step of the way. And the Prep really, although they outshot them by a ton, 40-15, they just couldn't put the puck in the net. They had 32 different shots that either went wide, were blocked, or hit a post. So they, in 2 playoff games, they've attempted 154 shots, which is nuts. But they only had 2 goals to show for it the other day. So they're still getting really good goaltending from Brian Cronin. He's only allowed, of course, the 1 goal in the 2 playoff games. They've got a bunch of different guys because of that blowout win against Lexington who have gotten on the scoreboard. But in particular, we've seen Will Van Sicklen score in both games. He had the game winner the other night with his second period tally. Cole Blazer, one of the captains, has 4 assists so far in the playoffs. Johnny Ty, third liner, has 3 assists so far. Christian Rose, another guy with a goal and 2 assists. Same with Nick Brandano, one of the defensemen. He scored the other night, his second goal of the season. He's got a goal and 2 assists. Now, the Prep is going to be playing a very familiar foe in St. John's of Shrewsbury, Catholic Conference opponent, and they've hammered them twice during the season, 7-2 and 9-2, which, of course, if you know anything about St. John's Prep hockey, head coach Christian Hansen is not thrilled to be playing St. John's of Shrewsbury because the law of averages tells you, it's awfully hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, especially when you've blown them out twice. St. John's of Shrewsbury, I don't want to say they have nothing to lose because their season would be over if they lost, but no one's going to expect them to win this game. So they can really try anything they want. They could mix it up. They could go into a trap. They could shoot for the moon. I mean, whatever they want to do, they can do because no one is going to expect them to win. And the pressure is on St. John's Prep to come out and see if they can improve their offense from last game and advance to the semifinals. No easy task here. Ryan Melanson's the goaltender for St. John's of Shrewsbury, so the Prep has some experience facing him. They've got a little bit of balance scoring themselves between Luke Girardi, Jeff Beauregard's another guy, Dominic Reedy, Danielle, I'm going to mispronounce his last name, Mentyalkin, I want to say it is. So they have some solid forwards. I mean, if the Prep plays its game, they should win. They're expected to win. They should win. But I think they got a real wake-up call Saturday night in that game against Archbishop Williams in that you can't just show up. You got to play the full way. If things aren't going well, if you're putting a ton of shots up but they're not going on net, try something else. Try mixing up. Keep attacking the net. The important thing is to win, and they did win. But it wasn't up to their standards. They're looking for a much better effort at home Wednesday night.
All right, guys, I want Nick Kukuru, I want you to weigh in quickly on Gloucester Fishermen bowing out of the tournament just this past weekend. But then, Matt, we've got a big girls game coming up this week as well on the ice. So, Nick, what can you tell me about the Fishermen?
Yeah, I mean Silver Lake 5-4, really not as close as that score indicates. Silver Lake was up 5-1 after two. Gloucester really kind of unraveled a bit in the second period. Allowed 3 goals. They were outshot 19-3 in that frame. And that was kind of the difference. They made a little bit of a comeback, but they scored a shorthanded goal with 14 seconds left. It was really never scary for Silver Lake, if we're being honest. They needed to score 2 shorties in a minute to tie it, which obviously didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, Silver Lake was good at that. Their defenseman Aiden Dunphy was as advertised, logs big minutes, scored a lot of points, and they played a little bit better of a game. I think they were pretty evenly matched teams, but Silver Lake was played the better game on Saturday. They deserved to move on.
Matt Williams, can you update us on the girls scene? We got a few minutes left here, and I know a huge game with Peabody's St. Mary's on Wednesday afternoon at 5.
Yeah, for the North Shore, I mean, that's as big as it gets in any sport. We save the best for last, I guess, because you got two teams that are actually from the area, playing against each other, which is a rarity, certainly in the statewide deal here. And, St. Mary's, for all their playoff experience over the years, they haven't been to a Final Four in 10 seasons now. They've been to 8 of them, but not since 2013. So, somebody is going to the first time. Nobody on the ice in this game will have been to a Final Four, and somebody's going to be advancing there. Peabody upset them in the playoffs 4 years ago now, but there's nobody left from that team on either side here, and so St. Mary's has won every regular season game between the two since, and Peabody's only scored 1 goal in those 3 games. So, the first goal is going to be paramount, just like it was. Peabody had a great win against Methuen-Tewksbury, another championship-tested team that's been in the Garden a couple of times. They really had to earn that one. Great defensive game on Saturday. St. Mary's beat Bishop Fenwick. The first shot of the game went in the net, so kind of made things a little bit anticlimactic. But Ella Tucker for Fenwick made 40 saves to keep her team in it, and Peabody's going to need an effort like that from Ella's good friend Elise Moody, who tends the net for the Tanners. She's got 10 shutouts this year. So, two very stingy teams. I mean, St. Mary's has only allowed 16 goals all year. Ange Catino is very good in the net, doesn't face a lot of shots. So they're going to have to get traffic there, try to get some tips. That's how they got the big goal against Methuen. To get that first goal was on a tip and then a rebound. So I think you're going to see them try to do that, but certainly not a lot of secrets here, not a lot of familiarity between the two sides. And, I'm expecting a great game. I think it's going to be tremendous. I mean, St. Mary's is as advertised. They're number 1 for a reason. They lead the state in goal differential. They lead the state in goals allowed. They're second in the state in goals scored. So, they're really, really, really good, but they're also not that far ahead of the pack as they were in 2008, 2009, 2010. So, I expect a great game. They're certainly a favorite, but I do think it's going to be thoroughly entertaining. And where it's at Connery Rink, the girls still at the home sites here, despite the size. I would recommend everybody get there really early and get your tickets early, because I think it's going to sell out, and there's not a lot of parking over there.
Yeah, what's up with them not having to move? I know for example, they made Cardinal Spellman move to Holbrook High School because Cardinal Spellman's gym wasn't big enough. I don't know why. Connery seems like the poster child for why these things need to get moved in this round.
They did not play this. So the St. Mary's lost in this round last year. They played it at Endicott College, and this year, they got the approval to stay at home, and so we go. And it's interesting. Winthrop girls are playing at home, which is probably about the same size of rink, but the Linfield boys are not able to play at home at McVan, which I think all 3 of those rinks are kind of the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I think
size-wise, yeah.
Expect to sell more tickets for the boys. I mean, the MIA documents say you have to be able to hold 1,000 fans. Obviously, none of those 3 places I think can hold 1,000 fans, but I think with the girls, maybe they haven't sold as many tickets on the GoFan. They have data for that, so they can go back and look and say, well, there were only 450 fans last year, so it'll probably be okay, and that kind of thing. I think, there's going to be plenty of room. It's unfortunate for the press. There's no real press box. It's going to be hard to see. I might have to bring like a milk carton to stand on or something, but really the big issue over there is the parking. That's why I would say everybody should get there early. It's the parking. I mean, the rink itself is okay, but the parking I think is potentially an albatross. But
Parking is dicey in a regular season game there, depending on
yeah,
when you get there, with the side streets and things like that. But
between two teams that are both local and are both probably going to bring big crowds,
yes, right.
And I mean, we're just discussing this for sake. I don't want to make it seem like sour grapes or whatever. St. Mary's is the #1 seed.
No,
And,
no, no. But they
all
could shuttle
that,
people over from the old Porthole pub or something. Just
the MIAA does have rules, but for whatever reason, they, the girls, they don't seem as concerned. I got to imagine it's an attendance thing. You know, but that's that. So, but either way, it should be a great game, whether they play it at Connery or, the TD Garden or on the Moon. It should be a great game.
Gentlemen, on that note, we are out of time. But you guys, fantastic again this week. Also, a special thanks to Matt Karakoutis, Beverly boys basketball coach, for joining us today. And gentlemen, thanks a lot. I know you guys are going to be very busy here in the days ahead, but thanks for your time here, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks, Bill.